guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Atriox, and we're back with another Gears of War video. So, we got a new article, right? So, this article came across my attention a few days ago, but I couldn't read it or look at it because I've been a bit busy with a bunch of different things, like working and then the reaction channel and then the Mortal Kombat stuff. So I figured today we get into that. So we're gonna check out this article. It's basically just talking about will Gears of War E-Day have a multiplayer? Obviously, it will. It's kind of what Gears of War is, and what about Gears 6? The Coalition gives us some hints on the future. So, this is actually by a different publisher than the other one. I kind of I read the beginning part here. I was just trying to get to the actual Gears of War content, right? Okay, so for fans that are hopeful for the conclusion of Kate's saga from Gears of War 4 and 5, E-Day came as a bit of a surprise. Rumors swirled that we'll be getting a Gears of War in some format. An SBOT showcase, and I don't think anyone had a hint. Okay, so it's basically saying that they didn't think that there was any hint about E-Day coming along. Obviously, I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting that. I was expecting Gears of War 6, but I'm happy about E-Day nonetheless because we're going back to the OGs, like the original, Marcus and Dom, like the real Gears, the original Gears, I should say. E-Day is an event in Gears canon that is referenced often, but so far is largely unrepresented in the franchise. And Gears of War 1 takes place years after the civilization is effectively almost destroyed by the Locust Horde. Locust, as a subterranean reptilian race who emerged on E-Day. Are they reptilian? They don't look like lizards. Why does it say subterranean real? I don't know. Whatever, not a big deal. Emerge on E-Day and devour entire cities by sinking them underground, leveraging gigantic creatures. The true nature of the Locust is revealed throughout the original trilogy, which you should definitely play, of course. But E-Day will bring us back to time of panic and chaos. E-Day took humanity completely unprepared, without the correct weaponry to fight the type of war, nor the tactics to match the ferocity of the Locust. Matt Cersei and Nicole Fawcett explained some of the Gears of War E-Day's own emergence to us in LA this past month. The Coalition has been working on Gears of War for a decade now, and noted that running up to the pandemic, the team. Okay, so this is some development stuff. The team has shipped Gears 4 and 5 and Gears Tactics and SBOT Series X update for the Gears of War 5 during that time frame. After that, the Unreal Engine 5 dropped, and it was a time for something new. By the time we were done with all that, we were into the pandemic. Cersei recalls. A lot of folks were reflecting. We knew we were going to Unreal Engine 5. We knew the big tech update was coming. We wanted to build a bunch of stuff from the ground up again and reflect on the franchise and what it meant to us at the Coalition. This is why we had elements of the Mad World trailer in here. Those kind of vibes are what we love about the franchise. And honestly, this is I feel like this is a good talking point, just that part alone, because taking a step back and looking at where Gears of War is. Compared to back when Gears of War 1, 2, and 3. Gears of War 1, 2, and 3 had a much bigger impact than Gears. 4 and 5, I get it was probably not the best working conditions, especially during COVID, so they did what they could. But Gears of War, I feel like Gears of War 5 should have been in a much better spot, seeing as it was coming around the time where we were starting to come out of COVID and stuff like that. That would have been so I'm kind of glad. I was gonna say it would have been good for or to really have taken back Gears to that stage, but taking the time that they've taken and take a step back and just reevaluating what Gears of War is to them, to basically SBOTs, what it means to SBOTs. It's one of the cornerstone games for SBOTs, besides Fable and Halo. It's really key to SBOT. It's one of the founders for SBOT. So it's just weird that Gears of War is in the state that it's in. So taking a step back and looking back at where Gears of War is and where it should be, I feel like it's the correct move for the franchise. Especially if this game turns out to be a banger, and bro, I hope they don't squander this, bro. I really hope that this game is really good, man. Because I miss Gears, bro. I miss everybody I know playing Gears and just having fun with the game. But anyways, let's move on with the game. While stripping Gears of War down, its constituent can't fucking say that word. My bad. I'm sorry to curse. I didn't mean to curse, but in the research, the coalition realized that so much of the story and even gameplay comes back to E-Day, an event which takes place 14 years before Gears of War 1. Honestly, there's a lot of story that you could tell for E-Day, from day 1 all the way up to the 14th year, where you go on a mission as Dom to get Marcus out of the slammer. So, you know, there's a lot of story that can be told there. E-Day is the origin story, Nicole Fawcett says. It's the origin story of the bond that defines the franchise, which is Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago. His friendship. When you first meet them, they're not the Marcus and Dom you know in Gears of War 1. They've already spent 14 years fighting the Locusts at that point. In Gears of War E-Day, Marcus and Dom are just returning from the Pendulum Wars, which was a global conflict, resource conflict between Sarah's primary superpowers. Millions were lost to the conflict, and development of insane weapons like the orbital laser hammer of Dawn emerged during this conflict. Humanity enjoyed barely 2 months of respite after this war before E-Day occurred. Peace was declared on Sarah, and they had a hopeful future in front of them. There's also trauma and grief from the Pendulum Wars, stemming from the passing of Dom's brother Carlos. Okay, so we're hearing about Carlos again. Carlos was Dom's brother, but he was Marcus's best friend. So Marcus and Dom are not the best friends that we know of yet. Obviously, they bond over the death of Carlos, which, you know, is pretty sick. Yeah, I didn't realize I still had those tabs open. Nicole emphasized, oh, hold on, let's skip the part. You can see what we wanted to reposition the Locust drone as an actual scary. Oh wait, I'm skipping. Why am I skipping so much? So the trailer sets our emotional tone as well as a visual tone. Nicole continued. Indeed, we learned over the past week that the trailer of Gears of War E-Day was entirely in-engine, using the game assets. You can see that we wanted to reposition the Locust drone as an actual scary, terrifying creature. People remember Gears of War 1 of having these high movement, high moments of horror and being scared. We're going back to the darker, grittier vibe that our people have lost to have in their minds, and they want in the franchise. Sorry, my head was like spinning for a second. And yes, this is what we want. We want that tone back, that horror themed Gears of War. Like, that was Gears, bro. Like, you know, the desperation that the Gears were dealing with. Like, all their cities were sunken. The only city that was left was just Cento. And, like, that's what Gears of War fans want to see. And, like, the tone that they've taken in the last couple games, it just doesn't, that same feeling isn't there, you know what I mean? Like, all the Gears, like, they feel like, you know, they know how to deal with, like, even JD and Kate, they felt like they knew how to deal with the Locusts before, like, I don't know. Like, from what I remember playing Gears of War 4, and even 5, like, you know, it didn't feel like they had difficulty dealing with the Locusts. Like, I don't know, it was just weird. It was just weird to me. Like, not even the Locusts, the Swarm, like. But anyways, you can see Gears of War 1 having these high, okay. Nicole emphasizes that while they are ramping up the horror, they aren't abandoning the franchise's emotional hooks, recalling some of the Gears of War game's most painful sequences involving Dom and his wife Maria from Gears 2, or the climax from Gears 3 that's in our DNA. The cool thing about Gears is that it can straddle both of those things. You can tell dark and horrific stories about human suffering, but also offer hope and what it feels like to have a squad at your back, and then having moments when you chainsaw Logan's head off and having it feel so effing good. But I mean, this is true. Like, Gears of War has had like some really crazy moments, especially, okay, you find out Adam Phoenix is alive. You go to save Adam. You think you save Adam, but Adam's really gonna die, and he didn't tell you that he's gonna die because he injected himself to test to see if it would work against all the Locusts. Then you have Dom, who searched like 2 games looking for Maria, and he finally finds her, only to realize that she has been tortured to the point of where she can't even speak properly. And then you have Ty Calypso, where I think his last name is Calypso. Ty, when you find him, you finally get him out of that prison, and he's such a mental wreck that Marcus gives him a shotgun and he shoots himself in the head. Or even like some of the more funnier parts where you have that scene with Cole and Baird where they're just talking about where Cole just rips into the Queen and the Locust in Gears of War 2. Like, dude, there's so many moments in Gears of War that's like had like some either like really emotional moments or like really fun moments. Even that scene in Gears of War 3 where you're thrash balling all the Locusts, that was pretty sick. How will Gears of War E-Day differ from predecessors? Okay. One question. I got a lot of social media this past week. Gears of War E-Day have multiplayer. Who the hell asked that question? Of course, it's gonna have multiplayer. I'm sorry. Nah, I don't think so, bro. No way. I personally found the question surprising, but we live in weird times and subvert expectations. Exactly, like that question doesn't make sense. Every single Gears of War has a competitive multiplayer in some form, and more often than not, a PvE multiplayer moment in Horde. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Gears of War 1 initially came out, didn't it not have a multiplayer? Wasn't it added? Basically, it almost didn't make the game. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me about that. But yeah. So it wasn't the fact that it didn't make the game, but it almost didn't make the game because they were struggling trying to figure out a balance for, you know, the game so it would be fun. That's basically, I just was watching an interview. That way I can just like really understand what I was saying. Anyways, moving on. I would say the next mainline Gears game, Gears has a pretty clear DNA for gameplay mode, so you can probably anticipate where we'll be going for E-Day. Indeed, there are some things about Gears that will never change, like competitive multiplayer. But I was also curious about how E-Day will subvert expectations. It's true that we've never experienced E-Day before itself, but wait, hold on, wait, what? Let me read that again. Indeed, there are some things about Gears that will never change, like competitive multiplayer. But I was also curious about E-Day. How will it subvert its expectations? It's true that we've never experienced E-Day itself, but fighting locusts in a crumbling city does at least sound pretty familiar. I asked Matt and Nicole how will they find a way to bring something new while also heading into the past. I agree that there's a lot of stuff we can do. On the story, there is a 14-year gap between E-Day and Gears of War 1. Even Gears Tactics was a few years into the war. E-Day isn't a world that's destroyed. It's a beautiful world with people who are in the time of peace. We see the locals introduced through the eyes of people who have never seen them before and don't know what's going on. Matt explained. We're also going to change up some gameplay stuff as well. We've worked on the franchise for 10 years, so we've got experience with revisiting enemy types, but also adding new weapons and maybe even new enemies as well. We'll do all that stuff. They better bring Boomer back. I miss the Boomer. Nicole chimed in with hints about the evolution of Gears' most iconic weapons, the Chainsaw Lancer, which indeed was a product born of necessity in the E-Day era. E-Day is the origin story of many things, including the Chainsaw Lancer. We'll see the Chainsaw Lancer was actually built after the fact, since there were no weapons that could pierce the super thick hides. We'll tell the story of how that came to be, and yes, you will get to use it too. Okay, so the chainsaw is going to be taking place, I'm guessing like mid-campaign we'll get the chainsaw, or like beginning. Towards like, probably after the first like couple missions. Coalition were adamant that they weren't ready to talk about the finer points of Gears of War E-Day, but I couldn't resist bringing up some Gears of War 5 more experimental elements. The fact that it went a little wider with side missions in very wide linear areas, and the fact that you could upgrade and spec out Jack for extra abilities and so on. I try to tease out of them if Gears of War will have simply go back to Gears of War gameplay design, or it'll be something new. We think we gotta put in on what makes Gears feels great, but that doesn't mean we have to return to its simplest possible version. There are some things we tried that didn't work, and some things we tried that actually turned out pretty good. We know that there is a core linear against all odds that'll flow through it, but there's room for us to play with that. We've got a whole city to play with, Matt continued. Gears of War E-Day is going to feel like a effing kick-ass Gears game, like the one people have in their head, but it's going to feel like a new game. It's going to have a new feel, it's going to feel fresh, and it's going to good at the same time. Is Raam going to show up? I asked. We're not answering so related questions right now. Duel said, exchanging smirks. Of course he's going to show up. Because, like, if we're being honest, like, this is during the time when Serac was leading the Horde. And then, like, I imagine there's going to be a point where Raam takes over for Serac. I asked Nicole as the brand director why they went back to Gears of War after 2 games simply titled Gears. It's a return, right? She says, we're returning to our roots. That's really the answer. I mean, obviously, it wasn't that big. It wasn't like a secret or anything like that. Weird. Why even ask that question? As if Gears of War E-Day is starting off a new trilogy, it takes place 14 years before Gears of War 1, after all. There's a lot of story you can pack into that decade and a half. We're focused on this and pouring everything we can into it right now. What next game will be for us to decide in the future, Matt said, Nicole chiming in. We're not retreating from the stories of Gears of War 4 and 5, though. We just spent time thinking about the stories we want to tell, and we can flex the franchise from both sides. We're excited about telling this story, and hopefully the fans will love the story as well. Every day has 1.2 blah, blah, blah. I'm very much touched about the franchise. I'm also eager to experience the fresh takes on the series. I enjoyed. Okay, so that's the end of the article. But so basically, there's a lot of there's a lot to unpack there. If I'm being honest, like there's a lot to unpack there. Just being able to see, you know, Raam in the story, being able to see how the chainsaw is being made, and like basically we were very little tight-lipped on everything that was in the article. Not much. We didn't learn as much as we did in the last article, but it's good to know that, like, you know, they're trying to like rework Gears of War from the ground up, and they're trying to like expand the multiplayer and the campaign. It looks like they're gonna have something interesting for campaign, which I'm gonna be interested in how they're gonna go about it, because like Gears of War 5 was more like an open world type thing versus like Gears of War 2 or 3, where it's like more of like a linear type of storyline. So seeing has, you know, they feel confident they can do this the right way. You know, they've worked in the game for 10 years, and basically they know what works and what doesn't work, and like I'm sure they've heard all the feedback, and they want to return back to a horror elements story. So hey, I'm all for it, bro. I just hope that they really just knock it out the park, because I want Gears of War to come back to like the being a mainstay of SBOS, you know. But anyways, that's all I have for this video. I just kind of want to talk to you guys about this article that I had came across a few days ago, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, do you guys like prefer? Let me ask you guys a question. Do you prefer me just reading the article, or would you guys prefer just like the key points of the article, and me just being able to talk about, like, you know, what's the main important facts? Like, I don't know. It's up to you guys. Let me know in the comment section below if that's what you'd rather do. Because if that's the case, then I'll just do that ahead of time. This is like my first reaction to the article as well, so like I don't know. It's up to you guys however you guys want to see this video being told. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this Gears of War video. I'm gonna be out of here. Have a good one, guys. Also, we're gonna be doing a Gears of War 1 gameplay really soon. I'm trying to figure out when I'm gonna go about doing it. I'm gonna download the game probably tonight, and then maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow night we'll stream it on Twitch. Okay, but anyways, guys, I'll see you guys later. If you guys want to see your Twitch page, it's in the link below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.